The rain hammered down on Kepler 442b's crimson marshlands like bullets of ice, turning the already treacherous terrain into a death trap. Sarah Venn pulled her environmental suit tighter around her shoulders, cursing the faulty heating unit that had died 2 kilometers back. She was supposed to be cataloging mineral deposits, not trudging through an alien swamp in the middle of a storm that could strip paint off a starship hull. That's when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the wind or the rain. A desperate, keening cry that pierced through the storm like a distress beacon. Sarah changed direction, her boots squelching through knee-deep mud. The cry came again, weaker this time, and her pulse quickened. Every xenobiologist's training screamed at her to maintain distance from unknown fauna. But something in that sound spoke of pure terror, of a creature facing its final moments. She found it in a flooded crater, its scaled body thrashing weakly against the rising water. At first, Sarah thought it was a reptile, perhaps some evolutionary cousin to Earth's ancient dinosaurs. But as she drew closer, she saw the translucent membranes folded against its sides. Wings. 4 of them. And its scales shimmered with an inner bioluminescence that pulsed in time with its frantic heartbeat. A dragon. An actual alien dragon, no bigger than a large dog drowning in a pit of mud and rainwater. Sarah didn't hesitate. She slid down the crater's edge, her suit's integrity alarm screaming as thorns and rocks tore at the fabric. The water was freezing even through her suit, but she waded forward, reaching for the creature. It snapped at her with needle-sharp teeth, eyes wild with panic. "Easy, easy," she murmured, knowing it couldn't understand, but hoping her tone would convey intention. "I'm trying to help." The dragon's struggles were growing weaker. Sarah could see its nostrils flaring desperately above the waterline, could hear the liquid rattling in its lungs. She grabbed it around the torso, and it was like holding onto living lightning. Muscles coiled tight, body temperature hot enough to steam the water around them, and that strange inner light pulsing brighter with distress. Sarah hauled them both out of the crater, her arms burning with effort. The creature was heavier than it looked, its bones dense and powerful despite its youth. She laid it on higher ground, tilting its head to let water drain from its mouth. It coughed, a sound like tearing metal, and more bioluminescent fluid mixed with the rainwater. For a terrifying moment, Sarah thought she'd been too late. Then the dragon's eyes opened, 6 of them, arranged in pairs along its elongated skull, and fixed on her with an intelligence that made her breath catch. It chirped, a softer sound than before, and Sarah found herself smiling despite the cold, despite the danger, despite every protocol she was violating. "You're welcome," she said. The dragon tried to stand, legs shaking, wings unfurling slightly before folding again. It was clearly exhausted, possibly injured. Sarah made a decision that would probably get her fired. She activated her emergency beacon, calling for extraction not just for herself, but for medical assistance. As they waited, Sarah noticed something odd. The dragon kept looking at the sky, its bioluminescence pulsing in a pattern. 3 short pulses. 1 long, repeated endlessly. A signal. The storm began to break just as her extraction team arrived, and that's when Sarah saw them. Shapes in the clearing sky, dozens of them, circling like massive birds of prey. But these were no birds. They were dragons, each one easily 10 times the size of the creature beside her, their scales reflecting the dual suns that were finally breaking through the clouds. "Dr. Venn, get away from that thing." Her pilot's voice crackled through her comm. "We're reading multiple large hostiles incoming." Sarah stood her ground, positioning herself between the young dragon and the descending shuttle. "Stand down. They're not hostile." But even as she said it, doubt crept in. What did she really know about these creatures? The largest of the dragons was descending now, and Sarah could feel the downdraft from wings that could span a highway. It was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure. Scales of deep purple that shifted to silver in the light, and eyes, so many eyes that glowed with the same bioluminescence as the youngling. The massive dragon, Velra, Sarah would later learn, landed with surprising grace. The ground trembled. Sarah's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, then dropped. What good would a plasma pistol do against something the size of a cargo hauler? The young dragon chirped again, struggling toward the massive creature. Velra lowered her enormous head, touching it gently to the younglings, and Sarah watched as their bioluminescence synchronized, pulsing together in what could only be communication. Then Velra turned those ancient, intelligent eyes on Sarah. The matriarch took a step forward, and Sarah forced herself not to run. This close, she could see the scars on Vialra's scales, the wisdom in her gaze, the deliberate care in every movement. The dragon lowered her head until she was eye level with Sarah, and a sound emerged from deep within her chest, not a roar, but something almost like a song, resonant and complex. One by one, the other dragons landed in a circle around them. Each approached Sarah, lowering their heads in that same gesture, that same song. The young dragon she'd saved pressed against her leg, its scales warm through her damaged suit. Understanding crashed over Sarah like a wave. This wasn't a threat display. This was gratitude. An entire pack of apex predators on an alien world acknowledging her actions, thanking her for saving one of their own. Velra reached out with one massive claw, gentle as a whisper, and touched Sarah's shoulder. The contact sent a pulse of bioluminescence through her suit's fabric, and Sarah felt something, not words, not exactly, but intent, emotion, recognition, pack bond, family, gratitude, protection. When the extraction shuttle finally departed an hour later, the dragons remained circling in the sky like honor guards. The young dragon watched from Velra's back, its bioluminescence pulsing in that pattern Sarah now understood meant, "I see you. I remember." Back on the station, Sarah filed her report, knowing it would change everything humanity thought about Kepler 442b. But that night, alone in her quarters, she looked at the scan the medical team had taken of her suit. Where Velra had touched her shoulder, her suit's fabric had been altered at the molecular level, reinforced with the same compounds that made dragon scales nearly indestructible. A gift, a mark of the pack. Sarah smiled, touching the spot, and wondered if somewhere down on that crimson world, a young dragon was telling its story too, of the strange alien who jumped into drowning waters, asking nothing in return but to know that life continued. That, Sarah thought, was the most human thing of all.